Casinillo, and I'll be talking about the story where I learned to be myself while being in the happiest place on earth, also known as Disneyland. Before I start my story, I would like to ask the audience if they know of the Disney Princess Rapunzel. You can raise your hand, or you can think to yourself, I have never heard of that lady in my life. But to put it shortly, she was a princess who was trapped up in a tower by her mother, who was manipulating her to being the obedient daughter. Growing up in Hawaii, you might know someone who was in Rapunzel's shoes and was trapped at home and always tried to make their parents happy, or always placed their parents' happiness before their own. And if you didn't know anyone, then you know me, and I have experienced what she experienced until I freed myself from my dad's very high standards. Being trapped by your parents' standards are very common in the world we live in today, but today you will hear the story of how I escaped that, and you'll hear of my freedom. To begin my story, I was always a daughter that my dad always wanted. I was obedient, I always studied at home, I always tried to make him proud and was very truthful with him. And he'd even follow me when I was enlisting into the military. I joined to make him proud because it's what he wanted for me, and I was okay with that. As long as he was happy, I was happy, and I never considered what actually made me genuinely happy. When I was at training, I was still stuck in that mindset to make my father happy and proud. During the stressful training that was very mentally, physically, emotionally demanding, I felt as though he was still there behind me, empowering me to be who he wants me to be, which is the obedient daughter. Until I decided to do what I wanted for once. I decided to go on a trip to California with my boyfriend during our holiday block leave to relieve the stress that we experienced. I was so excited, and I even decided to go to Disneyland. Being in California, I felt as though I was being selfish for once and healing my inner child that was hurt by my father's harsh standards. Wearing this t-shirt that my boyfriend got me at Disneyland, I started to finally feel free, because when I was on rides and eating my favorite foods, wearing this Mickey shirt made me feel I was a child again. As you can see on this shirt, there's a grease stain from one of the foods that I have eaten at Disneyland, but it's not there anymore. I guess it washed out. But that stain made me, that stain is always a reminder that I did that and I actually experienced what I wanted to for once in my life. But once I was eating dinner, I started to feel guilty, because being in Disneyland, I felt as though I was disobeying him, and I was stuck in the middle of being obedient or being the free person that I was finally realizing I was. Then a giant boom erupted into the sky, and it brought me out of my negative thoughts, and I was once again realizing that I made a decision for myself and was living my own life. And when I looked up at my husband away from the fireworks show, I knew that I was free and I could start living life for myself, and I was so genuinely happy for once. I put my happiness first that day, and I shared my happiness with you all. Starting from how I was back at home with him, that obedient daughter that he always thought I was, how he followed me mentally through Texas, and finally breaking free while being in Disneyland with the love of my life. Knowing the story and how I broke free from my father's standards, I hope you take away my story and realize for yourself that it's okay to put your happiness first, because your time on earth is so limited and so precious. You have to live every day like it is your last. Thank you so much for listening.